Welcome back to another episode of Python Data Engineer Interview Prep. Today we are going to solve a very frequently asked interview question, valid parentheses. So let's get into the problem statement. Given a string S containing just the characters, these are the characters, determine that the input string is valid. An input string is valid with these conditions here. Open bracket must be closed by the same type of bracket. Open bracket must be closed in correct order, and every closed bracket has a corresponding open bracket of same type. So let's look at this example here. This is the input. So now we have open bracket, close, open, close. So this is in the correct order and with the same type of brackets, and every closed bracket, it has the corresponding opening bracket of same type. So this is a valid scenario. And if you see here, there is the opening bracket and the closing brackets, there are two different types. So this is not a valid scenario. So in order to solve this problem, I'll just create a dictionary with a key and value pair. So these are the characters we can expect in the input string. So if I can create a dictionary with these values as a key and value, key will be my closing bracket and the value will be my opening bracket. And then I can iterate through that list, this entire list, and along with that I'll be checking my dictionary if it's a closed bracket or opening bracket. So let's get started and see how the code looks like. I'll explain as I make progress in this code. So I'll start with this dictionary here. So dictionary, this is my key, closing bracket, and this is my value, which is the opening bracket, and similarly for the other characters too. And I'll just initiate some temporary variable here. This is not in I'll just say check. There's nothing to return the answer other than true or false. So I'll just have this temporary check variable here. I'll just iterate through that list for I in S. So I'll have my first opening bracket here in this example. If I in D. So if I in D. So the dictionary is if I in D, opening bracket, which is a value in the dictionary, which is not a key. So this will not be that condition. So this value is not in D because this is an opening bracket. So if it is not in D, which means that's an opening bracket, I can append that to the check. Now let's see the next one, the closing bracket. So when we reach this closing bracket, now if I in D, yes, if I in D, the D has this closing bracket as the key, so we can find that key here. Now the conditions I need to check. If I find a closing bracket, there are a couple of scenarios here for a valid condition. That means my temporary variable should have the corresponding opening bracket already, because that's when I can check the closing bracket. So check variable should have the closing bracket, and that too the last element inserted into this variable should have the closing element, the same type of opening bracket there. If the last element inserted, it's not a same type of bracket, that's an invalid scenario. So in order to have this one, I need to check two conditions. If my check of my last element should be same type of opening bracket, and the next condition will be my check should not be empty in the first place. If check is empty, should not be empty. If check is empty, that means whatever I have, this is the first closing bracket I received without any opening bracket before. So these two conditions I need to check here. If I say like my check is not empty and my last character in check is the same type of opening bracket, that means that is a valid scenario, and in that case I can just pop the last element in the check. So I'll be checking if check and check of last element is equal to d of I, which means the opening bracket. So if this condition is met, I'll just pop the last element. So check dot pop. If this condition is not met, that means that's not a valid scenario. We have to just say return false. So after all the conditions are met here, the last final check what I'll be doing is, so if provided string it has opening closing bracket in the same order and same type, this pop ultimately empties my check. If anything else is remaining in the check, that means I'll just check if check. That means if my check is still having some value, that means some of the criteria is not met, and that's where we still have some characters in the check. That means that's a invalid scenario. I'll just return false, else I'll return true. Let's see, let's run this code here. So this is a valid scenario and this is an invalid scenario here. Hope you have learned something from this video, and thank you for watching this.